Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today, our guest is Michael Sjogren. Thanks for being on the show, Michael.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you on as well. I know we talked, and like I said, we were trying to figure out how long ago that was. I don't know if it's a year or so ago. We connected somehow, so I'm excited to have you on. It's been exciting to see where your business has gone and the things you've accomplished. It's been incredible, and I just think you are a great story of growing a brand and a business and having great systems in place and being able to make things happen because you've done it. And so I'm looking forward to getting into that because I know that can help any business owner. It doesn't matter what type of real estate or even what type of business you're in, really. These are going to be some things that all of us need to master. But a little about Michael, in case you haven't heard of him. He's a husband, father, and short-term rental expert. He currently has a portfolio of 8 short-term rental properties across 4 states and recently acquired and launched a boutique oceanfront hotel on Boston's North Shore. He is the founder of the STR Secrets podcast and the STR Secrets Mastermind training program, teaching others how to fast track their financial freedom through short-term rentals. Michael, I'm looking forward to this conversation, and I'd love to hear too about how short-term rentals have done through this pandemic and how your portfolio has done, and even how you're training other people right now, during some of this. But I want to also get into just breaking down the business and building the systems. And I know you've become an expert in that as well. I'm done very well at that. And that's going to help us in a big way, no matter what real estate business we're in. But give us an update just on who you are and what your focus is right now. And let's talk about maybe how short-term rentals have done during this pandemic. And then let's move into the systems and things.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, a lot of us that have been in short-term rentals for a while, we were quite frankly spoiled for a long time, right? You'd find a good property in a good area, you'd furnish it, take some good pictures, you'd throw it up on a site like Airbnb, and then poof, you were making a bunch of money, and it was really, really easy. And then when COVID hit, it really changed the game for a lot of folks. And a lot of people just kind of threw their hands up and they're like, okay, this doesn't work anymore. I can't make any money. I'm going to get out of the game. But for the folks that, really understand business, what it really came down to was just adjusting your marketing and really trying to figure out, okay, this global pandemic is going on. Who can I still serve? Like, who actually needs to go somewhere on a short-term stay? And one of the things that I talk about in a lot of my trainings is there's 9 different reasons why people travel. And a couple of them are obviously medical, life events, relocation, things like that. And when you have a global pandemic going on, what we saw in our portfolio was there were a lot of people that lived in, say, an urban market. And they basically said, all right, well, if I'm going to quarantine, I'm going to go quarantine somewhere nice out in the suburbs or at a beach or wherever. So we had a lot of people stay at our beach place in Florida or up in the mountains in New Hampshire, or just, in some of our suburban markets that we're in. And they would stay with us for 2, 4, 6, 12 weeks just to get out of the city, just lay low and just hang out, quite frankly. So we just saw a shift in traveler profile and the duration of the stay. So prior to this, our average stay was 3 to 4 days, and that shifted to 14 days, which makes sense, obviously, because people were quarantining. But beyond the folks that wanted to get out of the city, we also had a lot of nurses that were relocated from out of state to help out at a lot of the hospitals. And you don't have to be near a huge hospital, but if you are in a market that has any decent sized hospital with inpatient facilities, there's always going to be a demand for nurses, practitioners, inpatient services, things like that. And so we had a lot of demand from that. And then we had a lot of folks that, quite frankly, they just had older parents that were living in one of our markets, and they were out of state and they wanted to be able to take care of their parents, but they needed to come to the state and then quarantine themselves for 2 weeks before they could actually go take care of their parents. So when we shifted our marketing and shifted our headlines and descriptions and adjusted to that, we were still able to generate bookings. I mean, granted, we were not making the kind of money that we were before, but we were still profitable and we were still able to run our business day to day. So again, it just comes down to a mentor of mine told me a long time ago, he who is most flexible always wins. And so you got to be flexible. You got to be able to adjust and pivot and keep a positive mindset.
I love that quote. He who is most flexible always wins. And I think it's a great example of, okay, pandemic happens, instead of just panicking, right? It's almost like he who doesn't panic wins, right? Can still think, in those times. And I love how your question then was, okay, who can we serve? What can we, how can we make, squeeze lemons, right? Make, make lemonade out of this, right? And you did that and you were still profitable. And so, through the pandemic, what's been kind of the overall, just of short-term rentals and what's happening now? What's been some changes that's happened? Because that's usually when millionaires are made, right? During a time like this. But what's changed in your business other than just, thinking about who we can serve, who we're marketing to? What else have you learned during this process in your specific business?
We took the opportunity to, again, tighten up a bunch of our systems and then really dive deep and learn, how else can we market our properties, right? Organically through different social media profiles and influencer shout outs, things like that, like getting back to business fundamentals. How can I go out and promote my product to my ideal customer and really start to think that through? And again, we've updated a lot of things internally, tightened up some systems. We've onboarded a couple new staff, just really tried to leverage the time because normally, during the day to day, it can be more challenging to take that step back and go to that 30,000 foot view and say, all right, how is our game of chess going? Where do I need more pieces? Things like that. But when it slows down for a month or two, it gives you more time to take that step back and figure out what can I tweak? How can I maximize my profitability and my efficiencies? So that's what we did like internally. And then as far as where we stand now from, a guest perspective, what we found is once June hit, people had been cooped up in their homes for 2 to 3 months at that point, and they were just so ready to get out of the house. I mean, we had, certain states have certain restrictions still, and it varies by state depending where we are. But we had people like blatantly try to lie to us to say that they were going there for work or whatever, and just to get away. And we just had to be like, listen, like, I know you want to get out, but we can't do that right now. That was back in April and May. But now in June, we've had some of our best months yet between June and July. And if you look at the statistics, a site AirDNA, they pull all the statistics from Airbnb and HomeAway, and bookings are up 127% year over year because people just want to get out and they want to travel and they want to do things. Now, the way that people want to get out is a little bit different. Most people are not going to get on an airplane for probably a little while unless they have to. So what we've seen is a shift where, normally we may get some international travelers or some folks from across the country. All 99% of our guests are within a 2 to 6 hour driving radius. So they're willing to pack up the car and drive and go away for a weekend or a few days, avoid the planes, but it still gets them out, gets them some fresh air and gets them out of the house. So that's what we're seeing right now.
Nice. Okay. So you're staying in short-term rentals. You still see that there's going to be success in short-term rentals that hadn't just collapsed completely, right?
No. And there are certain advantages, right? And we are in the hotel game now too, and we can talk about that, but there will always be some distinct advantages with short-term rentals over hotels. The first being it's just economically more efficient, especially when you get into a 2, 3, 4 bedroom home. You can fit a family, 2 or 3 families all in one home, as opposed to having to rent, 3 or 4 hotel rooms. It's always just going to be more economically sound to do that, depending where you're traveling. And then the second thing is when you have a global pandemic and people are worried about a virus spreading rapidly, you're going to feel more secure when you're in a single home instead of going into a hotel with common areas and lobbies and a row of doors all over the place. So a single family home style vacation rental, short-term rental, will always be more attractive from that standpoint, especially during a pandemic.
No doubt. I mean, as a family, I know we would always rather stay in a home than in a hotel, right? But I would imagine it's a good time to buy a hotel. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, for sure. So we actually got the property. We purchased it and closed on February 10th. And then, 3 weeks later or so, the whole COVID thing hit. And again, a lot of people panicked, and we just said, listen, we were planning on renovating this thing anyway. It's going to take us, 3-4 months to renovate it. So we moved forward, finished the renovations the second week of June, just as the states were opening back up. And that property, I mean, it's done unbelievable. Like I was telling you offline, we're basically double what our pro forma underwritings were on that property just out the gate. And it's done very well. And we leveraged a lot of the systems and the SOPs that we use in our short-term rental business for this hotel. So our plan going into it was to make this what we call a smart hotel. So it's all self-check-in. There's no front desk, self-service. We have, extra linens, towels, toiletries, all that stuff strategically placed throughout the property so that guests have access to extras when they need it. But the whole thought process was we wanted to make this hotel as efficient and smart enabled as possible. One, it reduces our overhead, but two, it also makes it more efficient and easier for guests. So they're not having to find a staff member and request certain things. So it's definitely an interesting model. And it parlayed in perfectly for what was going on because people don't want to have contact with anyone right now. So they love the whole self-check-in thing and how that's all working right now.
Nice.
So that's worked out very well for us.
So let's jump into just, setting up systems and breaking down a business, and creating teams and things like that, and how you've been successful in that. Because I know that's something, I've struggled with, and I know many of the listeners are either working on that now or thinking about, how they can, hand some of this stuff off to other people, or what can we hand off? What does that look like? But maybe you can start us there a little bit, and some systems you've put in place that have helped you to be successful and really gain back your time as well, right? But get us started there.
Yeah, for sure. Now, the first thing that I would highly suggest, and I guarantee 95% of you will not do it, but I highly encourage you to do it. So just do it. Is do a 2-week time study. All right. Just literally, you can make it in a Google sheet, but print it out and just carry it with you. And every 15 to 30 minutes, write down what you're doing. And then next to that, you can make some notations as to, is this giving me energy? Is this taking my energy? Do I like doing it? Do I not like doing it? And the second question is can this be delegated? Can somebody else do this besides me at least an 80% effective rate at a lower cost, right? Because if you value your time, I should not be out there cutting the lawn and doing all those different things. My highest and best use is, again, creating efficiencies in the business and going out and finding more deals. That's my highest and best use. So do the 2 weeks time study and you'll be amazed, one, of how much time you're wasting on random crap like social media and different things. And two, it will really highlight how much time you're focused in your business instead of on your business. So I highly encourage you to do that. It's not the most fun, but I guarantee you by like day 3, you're going to be like, why did I just take a 22-minute shower? I should have been in and out of here in 10 minutes. It's just going to force you to create efficiencies. Like I'm telling you, it's unbelievable. It becomes a game.
Yes. And just for the listener as well, and could you give just a quick example of in the business versus on the business? Like maybe there's a task you can just help us to think through that quickly.
Yeah, for sure. So when I'm thinking of something in the business, I'm thinking of in hospitality, it could be processing a reservation. It could be answering a guest question. It could be answering the phone, coordinating maintenance, making sure the cleaners are setting up, inspecting the rooms, things like that. That's like in the business operational work. When I'm talking about on the business, I'm thinking about, okay, what processes, like what is working? What do my KPIs look like? Who is doing what? And who is on my team with the right skill set? So I have certain members of my team that are amazing with customers, but they're not the most detail oriented. And if I try to put them in a systems operational type of role, they're going to hate it. And I'm going to hate managing them because it's just not their highest and best use. So I've strategically put people in place on my team in our operations that support them in their gifts, right? So think about who's on your team. What are their natural strengths? And the more that you can align people with what their natural strengths are, the easier your job is going to be and the happier they're going to be in their role, quite frankly. So that's thinking like on the business, and then figuring out, okay, kind of like reviewing the P&L. All right, where are some of my inefficiencies? Why did our electric bill go up? Didn't we have these units on smart timers, things like that, like whatever, like more strategic thinking. Now, when I look at a business, regardless of what business you're in, whether it's multifamilies, hospitality, fix and flips, whatever, I like to look at it from a 30,000 foot view and think of what are the different components or buckets that I can break this business into. So for us, it's okay, assuming you already have a property, right? The first piece is customer acquisition. How do I attract guests to my property? Okay. So it's how to create listings. What do the photos need to look like? How do we furnish the property? How do we automate our pricing? All those types of things that attract people to us. Then the next piece around like, okay, now we've got guests. Now, how do we operate the property? So how do I streamline my communication? How do I streamline my turnovers? How do I streamline my quality control to make sure that everything looks perfect and they get a consistent experience every single time, right? How do I coordinate maintenance? All of those different components. And on the back end, okay, how do I ensure that my books are up to date? Who's preparing them? Who's reviewing them? Who's doing the owner reports? Things like that. So when you chunk it into different buckets that way, you can start to bring yourself out of the business and look down on the different buckets and then drill into different components.
And you're going to see a lot of those if you do that time study that you're talking about, right? Are you doing these things, and what are they? Is it something someone else could do? Yes. So, all right. So now we've done the time study, and was there something else, or was that a list? I couldn't remember.
Yeah. So just do the 2-week time study. And then when you're done, take a look at that and figure out, if you're solo right now, okay, what are the tasks on there that you could outsource even to, I know we leverage virtual assistants in our business. They're amazing. Like they're incredible, highly educated, super hardworking. They love to contribute to the team. And it is significantly more cost effective to leverage some of those tasks to overseas virtual assistants than it is to hire somebody in the US. Now we have a blend of both. We do have on-site personnel for the hotel and a couple, local folks that we use. But for a lot of the repetitive or the guest communication or the administrative things, we leverage virtual assistants for that. So start to figure out, okay, I know my numbers, I know my profitability. Could I swing $350 to $400 a month for a part-time virtual assistant to take these items off of my plate? So then with that time that you're gaining back, you can go out and prospect for more deals. You can build more relationship with lenders, build your investor database, things like that. But it's all about maximizing your time, your highest and best use to move your business forward instead of getting caught up in the weeds.
So where do you find your VAs?
So we use a site called Virtual Staff Finder. And one tip to think about, like the better that you can write your job description and the more that you can really understand who you're actually looking for. So as an example, I got a tip from a buddy of mine, because I had gone through maybe 4 or 5 VAs over a 2-year period, and they do okay for a while and then it didn't work out. And he goes, well, why don't you just require that they used to work in Airbnb's call center? They're already used to doing this kind of work. Save yourself the time from teaching them the entire business. So once I did that, we ended up hiring a gentleman who helped build Airbnb's call center in the Philippines to 5,000 agents. Like he's a total stud and a rock star on our team. And he knows all the ins and outs of short-term rentals and Airbnb's policies and everything like that. So figure that out. And then we also use, for everybody, this is local and for our VAs, I like to use an assessment called 5 Voices. It's similar to Myers-Briggs, but I find that it just dials it in a little bit more. And so as an example, like I'm a creative pioneer. So I'm very vision-based, future thinking, like to get things done, move the needle forward, but I lack in certain things around structure, order, a lot of those like detail work. I can do it, but it sucks my energy. So I'm looking for somebody to complement those skills. So when you know who you need on your team and you know the personality types that you need, it's a lot easier to hone in your search for the right candidate.
Tell us a little bit about just like how you thought about systems though. I know, like we want to use VAs, we're going to do the time study so we can think, okay, these are things that we can hand off to somebody else. And then I can focus on, the highest and best use like you talked about. But I feel like, or I found also personally, I've used tons of virtual assistants like you're talking about and have had great success with many of them. I couldn't do it without them now, and it's a great option. But just putting a system in place and thinking about, okay, delegating these tasks to this individual or these tasks to this individual and how do they work together? And, how did you create a system to really make all of it function and complement one another?
Yeah, for sure. So again, you go back to the time study and you figure out where is most of my time going. And for me, early on in my business, it was our checkout time is 11 a.m. So between 11 and 12:30, I needed to make sure that the cleaners were showing up at all of our properties. So I can see that easily based on the Wi-Fi locks that we use. They have their own code, so I could see that. And then we have cameras on the outside of the property, so I could check that. So that was taking up, a decent amount of my time because I'm constantly checking back and forth to see if they're doing that. Okay, that's a very simple task that a virtual assistant can take over. Then it was, okay, a lot of the guests, we have all these automated messages that we've built out that go out and they give them check-in instructions and all those types of things. And they all get their own unique access code. But a lot of folks just don't read their email and they don't read their messages. So then they end up, reaching out. So our check-in is at 4. So from 2 to 4, our VAs can make sure that the guests have confirmed that they've received all of their information. And if they haven't, the VA can reach out to them and say, hey, don't forget, here's all your check-in information. Here's where the codes are, right? And then again, around 6 to 8 at night, when folks are getting to the property or they're home from work and they're inquiring for more properties or to book a property, okay, then the VA can kind of focus their time on guest communication between those hours. So again, if you're on a tight budget like we were initially, and I have 4 hours a day, I was having my VA work from 12:30 to 4:30, and that was doing well. And then I said, all right, I need you to work from 12:30 to 2:30, and then I need you from 4:30 to 6:30. So I'd get a break in the middle of the day. A lot of them, when you're working part-time, they may have multiple clients. So it's fine as long as they can designate the time to you. So just figuring out where those bottlenecks are that are sucking your time in your business. And then as you grow, you have more revenue to hire more full-time staff to hand over more and more things.
All right, Mike, just a few more questions before we run out of time. So, in the short-term rental business, I ask a lot of guests this that are operators and that are, that are real estate professionals like yourself. How do you prepare for a downturn like this, or maybe what changed about the way you're preparing for, downturns in the future?
So for us, honestly, my business strategy in hindsight worked out extremely well during COVID, because we always said that we weren't going to operate in any major city like a downtown Boston or a New York or a Jersey or San Francisco, wherever, any major city. We just didn't operate in there because they were most susceptible to regulatory changes. And most of them have a lack of housing to begin with. So when we come in and gobble up a bunch of units for short-term rentals, yeah, the city makes tax revenue, but they're like, I don't really care. We need more housing. So it's not really a win-win for us and the city. So we just said, okay, we'll go 30 to 45 minutes outside of any major city and look for a lot of those same characteristics in the suburban towns. And that model worked out very well during COVID because everybody wanted to get out of the city. And the same thing would happen if another wave of this came back. We would still be attracting the same customers that we did in March through May. So for us, like, we've been there, we've done that. Okay, cool. Now we know, all right, some things that we did, reaching out to guests proactively leading up to their reservation. Hey, hope you're doing well. I know things are crazy right now. Just want to let you know, here's the CDC cleaning protocols that we follow, which we've done since the beginning anyway, to make sure that the property is completely sanitized and ready for you during your stay. Here's the restaurants that are available for delivery service. Here's the grocery stores that are open. And if you stay for at least 7 days, we'll give you $100 Instacart gift card. So you can have groceries delivered to the property. So you don't even have to leave. Like those little things that if you put yourself in the mind of a traveler during a pandemic, they're worried about leaving a property. So how do you make it as easy and as comfortable for them to just camp out, enjoy their time at your property, and create a good experience for them?
So what's a way that we haven't talked about that you've recently improved your business that we could apply to ours?
Ah, I for me, it's honestly when most people have been contracting over the last couple months, I've been expanding. So I've added 2 new staff. We purchased that hotel. We're currently underwriting 3 more hotels, again, in select markets that are going to make sense for the long term. And by leveraging and hiring more staff, it has freed me up I'm basically grooming an operations manager to oversee all of my short-term rentals. And then we have an on-site manager at the hotel that I've been grooming. So I've just been spending most of my time training those 2 folks so that I'm completely elevated out of the business again. Because you'll find as you continue to grow, you have to kind of get back in there, create systems, improve everything, and then elevate yourself back out. So it's kind of this constant wave as you continue to go up and up. But
Will
again,
that offsite
leverage
manager be somebody that's virtual in another country?
for the short-term rentals. Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Because
So go ahead.
I was going to say, and this works for long-term and short-term rentals. You do not need to do this in your backyard. You don't. And I know it's a comfort zone thing, but our first property was in New Hampshire, which is 3 hours away from where I lived. So I was forced to create processes and teams and systems because I physically could not get there in time to do anything if something went wrong. So I had to dial in all these systems. And then again, we did it in Florida, in North Carolina. We were in Texas for a little while till that property got sold. So you can do it anywhere. You don't need to be in your backyard. So I always ask people, think about where would you want to go? Like start there. It's your business. Build a business that you're actually going to enjoy. So design it that way.
So what's been the number one thing that's contributed to your success?
Personal development. Not even a question. I mean, I invest heavily in personal development and masterminds. If your mindset, your level of success will never outpace your level of personal development and your self-image. So if you don't believe that you are worth X or that you can do X, your self-image, that internal thermostat will always cool you off and you will not get to that next level. And having mentors that see the potential in you and believe in you and push you past that comfort zone, it's invaluable. I can teach anybody the nuts and bolts of how to build a short-term rental business, but if you don't believe in it and you don't have a strong enough why, you're not going to do anything with it.
What's a way that you spent money towards, your personal growth that the listener could do today?
I mean, it depends on what your budget is, quite frankly. I mean, I'm in masterminds that cost tens of thousands, and if you're starting at ground zero and say you just lost your job and you're really trying to get things going, the best investment that you can make is honestly in books. Like literally just going through, somebody took the time to compact all of their life lessons into a book that you could read in 3 to 4 hours. You'd be insane not to read that book. Right. So Rich Dad, Poor Dad, when I read that when I was like 25, I was an accounting major and I was like, nobody ever taught me about money like this. Like it just blew my mind and it just led me down a path. So, any books around your mindset, any books around real estate. I mean, listening to Whitney's podcast, going on to Bigger Pockets, doing your research. If you're into short-term rentals, we just launched our podcast and YouTube channel. Like there's so much free information out there. And obviously there's paid programs as well that if you want to go deep and you're serious, boom, that's how you fast track it. But if you don't have the budget for that, don't use that as an excuse. Keep moving the needle forward every day, just 1% a day, and you'll be amazed within a year looking back of where you are.
How do you like to give back?
For me, I give back to an organization called Operation Underground Railroad, which rescues kids from sex trafficking. That's, something that I met them at a conference a couple of years ago, and just some of the stories, I was bawling my eyes out. And so I like to give to them. And then obviously through education, helping people, create additional income streams to free themselves up from their 9-to-5s. That's what I'm super passionate about.
Mike, I'm just grateful for how you've given back that way and for sharing that. I've heard of that organization a few times, and it's just some incredible stories there and things that they're doing to help those individuals. I appreciate you giving back to us today and just helping us think through systems. And I mean, it's just something that, when you're a new business owner and you think, well, I'm going to go start a business, like you just have no idea what you're fixing to embark upon, right? I mean, just, take over this type of mindset shift and handing stuff off like that, thinking about virtual assistants and hiring people. And it's a whole new level of things you have to learn. Right. And so just grateful for how you just shared with us today, how thinking through some of that, even just that, the time study thing. I agree. Like it's something so valuable to think about how you're spending your time. And so how you can, things you can hand off to somebody else so you can gain that time back. It's been great to get to know you a little better. Tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you and learn more about you.
Yeah, for sure. So you can find me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. You can find me at the Airbnb Guy. You can check out my website, strsecrets.com. It's got, if you're into short-term rentals, it's got some free training on there. You can check out our podcast, STR Secrets, which just launched about a month ago. We got about 10 episodes out there, and we're adding to that every single week. And just send me a DM. I love talking shop. And one last quick book recommendation for systems, I'm sure you've read it, Whitney, is The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. That book will kind of walk you through the thought process of how to create systems in your business.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.